Hello chess friends and lovers of chess. In this video, I'm going to share with you an amazing game which was played in the year 1952 by Mikhail, who attacked with the white pieces against Teodors Zeids, who defended with the black pieces. Mikhail started with pawn to d4, c6 by Zeids, c4 followed. After pawn to d4, there is a natural idea which enables you just want to take the pawn. Here, Mikhail went all creative with knight to f3. Knight to f6 comes up by Zeids, knight c3. Pawn takes on c4. This gives room for Mikhail to control the center with pawn to e4. The two pawns in the center are doing a great job occupying the centers, supporting the knights, putting pressure on the center, although the knight also have extensions towards these other squares. This is a good compensation for Mikhail giving up a pawn. The pawn push to e4 also opens up this diagonal for the light squared bishop to recapture that pawn. Zeid doesn't want this to happen, so he played pawn to b5. In this position, Mikhail went for e5, attacking the knight. Black played knight to d5, keeping the knight safe. After pawn to a4, trying to disconnect these two pawns, black captured the knight first. Pawn takes, then black played pawn to a6, solidifying the defense of the pawn on b5. Bishop to e2 is silent developing move, developing the light squared bishop and opening this square so that the king can be castled to the short side. Black played bishop to b7. Mikhail went for knight to g5. Black played pawn to h6. The sole aim of pawn to h6 is to kick this knight away. Mikhail played knight to e4, keeping the knight safe. With e6, bishop to a3. Why bishop to a3? Bishop takes bishop, rook takes, and you will discover that this square is a perfect outpost for this knight. So, bishop took on a3, rook takes the bishop on a3. Black castled fast to the short side. Mikhail also castled to the short side. Knight to d7. f4, queen to e7. After rook to a1, because the rook is under attack here from the queen, so Mikhail spots a good defensive move, rook to a1. Knight to b6. With knight to b6, knight attacks this pawn and also prepares to bring the knight to a perfect square in the center. So Mikhail went for an idea with queen to d2. You'll find out the strength of queen to d2 later in some move. That is why Mikhail is called the magician of Riga. Here, black took the pawn with the knight on a4. f5 followed. The intention of f5 is to go and destroy black's defense. You see, if this pawn eventually gets to f6, there will be problems for black. So, the only move in this position as at now that favors black is to capture that pawn on f4. It is natural for a player to continue with rook takes pawn. Because of Mikhail's attacking style, he spotted a sacrifice that made me amazed and wanted to share this game to you in the first place. He went on with an unexpected knight to f6 check. In this position, if pawn takes this knight, there will be rook to f3. If pawn takes on e5, there will be queen takes the pawn on h6. After f4, trying to stop this rook from coming to this square, there is also a spectacular move like this, rook to h3. The rook, the queen, now places pressure towards the square, threatening checkmate in 1. In this position, f6 must be played so that the king can see a space to run to. So the attack can continue with queen to h8 check. King moves, rook comes into the game to h7 check. King move. Rook takes queen check. King takes the rook. In this position, you agree with me that after queen to h7, rook blocks, queen comes down to h6. Mikhail is winning. In the game, black did not go for taking that knight. Instead, black played something else. He just moved the king to h8. Mikhail capitalized on this king position. Since the knight covers this square, all we need is a nice check from this position so as to attain checkmate. So what did Mikhail do? Mikhail went on with rook takes the pawn on f5 first. Rook moves to d8. Here he doubled the rook on that f-file. Bishop to c8 attacking the rook. Rook moves to a square where it will support the queen to mount pressure on this pawn on h6. Queen goes to f8 so as to support in the defense of this diagonal in case of any kind of demolition wants to happen. Rook to f4. After knight takes that pawn on c3, thinking there will be a distraction so that the queen can leave this diagonal and this knight will be captured. Well, Mikhail went for a creative idea. He just continued with his plan. He played rook on f to h4, doubling the two rooks on pressuring this particular square where the pawn is. Then the queen is also there. In fact, the knight is supporting, doing a very great job. Black is in trouble. After knight takes on e2 we check, thinking Mikhail will still leave this diagonal. Mikhail just moved the king to f2. g5 comes up, a final trial to still be in the game. But this is now too late because Mikhail has a winning continuation, which starts with rook takes the pawn. On h6 we check. Queen takes, rook takes. When the king moved to g7, queen came into the attack through the g file, taking that pawn on g5. After king moved to f8, rook to h8 check. The game ended here, as at 1952, black actually resigned this game from here because from this position there is a compulsory, or let's say there's a forcing mate in 3. Let's check this out. The king has to go somewhere eventually. The king cannot go here. The knight covers and the rook covers. So the king has to come here. There will be knight to d5 check. This is a double attack from the knight and from the queen. The king, if the king goes to somewhere here, the mate is just coming very early. So a move that prolongs the mate is moving the king to e6. This still enables Mikhail to find this move, knight check, where the king has to move. The king cannot come here because of the knight covers. The king cannot come here because of the pawn covers. The king cannot come here because of the the queen covers this diagonal. So where to go? The king has to come here. So queen takes this rook, administers this checkmate in 3. Thank you for watching this game. If you've enjoyed, do not forget to support my channel, like it and subscribe. See you in next video like this on this channel.